introducing UI UX to us, what UI UX is about, why we what UI UX is about, what it is used for, or and who it's for, and whether it's on demand, and also talking about what we need to do to succeed as UI UX designers. And finally, I'll also be taking us through what we need during the course of this during the period of this course as UI UX developers, the tools we'll be using and all. And yeah, basically that's what we'll be talking about today. And this one we are having voice, so we're having network issues. And no, I would have preferred that since we are just three, or since we are just four here, I would have preferred that the class be interactive. Let everyone just get to speak up, say something or the other, so that we'll learn more and more. So Dynasty, can you try to speak up again? Let me see if it's from me or okay. I guess it might be your mic or something. Are you sure you're not muted? Okay, you're muted yourself, so it's not your mic. Well, anyways, don't worry. So I'm just going to go on. Don't Never mind. So yeah, the term UI UX basically is user interface slash user interaction. So the two terms, or the two words, are almost the same thing, but they actually have differences. So UI, which is user interface, is basically consists of the interface, basically consists of the screens of an application. It can be website, it can be a mobile app or a desktop app. But user interface, which is the UI part, is basically just series of screens and visual elements like buttons, icons, and fonts, typography, and all of those things that make that the user sees when they come into your application. And no, then we have the part of UX, which is user interaction. So basically, user interaction here now is how users interact with your website or with your application. So yeah, the role of a UI UX designer is actually very, very important, because it is like the first step to developing any application at all. You would have to study the needs of that application, who will be using that particular application, what they will be using it for. Then you will now have to come up with a design to meet all of those needs. So that is why UI UX is a very, very important role in developing any application. Every other person depends on the UI UX designer, starting from the front end to the back end. So as much as you don't really need any coding or technical skill to be a UI or UX designer, you actually need critical thinking to be able to design in UI or UX. And why I say you need critical thinking is because you need to understand a lot of things. You need to do your research. You don't just come out and start designing. Websites or applications. You need to understand the use of this. You need to understand the use of these applications before you be able to create designs for them. And why I say this is because there are formats that different kinds of application takes. You get the way you design an e-commerce application will be totally different from the way you design a financial application. You get, but all in all, the main thing is, before you start your design, or before you do any design for an application, you need to understand what the application is meant to be used for, who will be using it, you get, so that you have a clear picture of how it is done. Then another thing, or another reason why UI UX is very, very important, is because how the design of a particular application is can actually draw more users to your application, or pursue users from your application. So nowadays the idea so nowadays basically many people have become lazy in this tech era, in the sense that we are looking for application that will make things very easy. So nobody will want to install an application and first look at the design. You can decide whether you still want to use this application or you don't. Sometimes you can just open an application and you'll be like, oh, this thing is too complex, I don't understand it, and you close it up. Yes, that is the importance of UI UX. But there are some applications you open up and nobody will even have to explain how to use it for you, and you already know how to your way around all of these things, you get. So now that part is the user experience part. You should be able to design your user interface so that the user can not need any extra guidance to be able to use your application. There are some applications you open and it will be so confusing that you actually need someone to explain it for you. While there are some applications you open, at first glance you know exactly what to do. So all of these things depend on the UI UX designer. So this is just me trying to tell us how important the role of a UI UX designer is. You get. So yeah, that is basically it. So UI UX is just designing interfaces for application, both mobile application, desktop application, and your website. And also it's important to note that UI UX is totally different from graphics design. You get. A UI UX developer or a UI UX designer is not a graphics designer. As a UI UX designer, you are not how will I put it, you are not meant to be designing, or you are not supposed to be designing logos or social media images, or all of those kind of, or branding images and all of those things. Yes, all of these things actually fall under design, product design, but UI UX specifically is about application user interface. Your UI UX does not go into designing logos and all of those things. So yes, there's a difference between a UI UX designer and a graphic designer, even though most times you can do both. Get. So I've explained, I'm sure we understand what UI UX is, when it is used, what it's used for, and who it's for. So yeah, if you basically have a creative mindset and artistic mindset generally, it will be much easier for you to go into UI UX designing. Another thing now is, if UI UX is in demand, before we go into learning or deep into a particular field in tech, one of the reasons we ask ourselves is if this thing is actually needed, if this thing will bring me money. So yes, UI UX is actually madly in demand. Like, their demand is increasing every single day, because no matter the field in tech, both NFTs or Web2, Web3, like any kind of application, desktop, mobile app, iOS app, websites, all need UI UX designers to start up the design for them. So I've already talked about the processes UI UX designers need to take before developing stuff, which is actually do your research. You have to make your research about the application you're trying to design. Then you go next into wireframing that said application, and after wireframing, then we'll talk about prototyping. Then after all of this, it's very important that you now give out your prototype for people to test. And this testing is important because it's part of research, or the develop and feedback cycle, whereby you do and you now give people to test your prototype. So in this way, as people test your design, or your design, you now have to study or watch how they make use of your design and get feedback. So if you notice how they use it, if it's easier for them to do some things, then you know how to adjust. If some parts are a little confusing for them, you also know how to adjust and handle most of these things. So yes, another important thing about UI UX design is you should be able to start up your design on with pen and paper. Like as a UI UX designer, pen and paper is very important so that you'll be able to sketch out a rough scale of your designs. So when we go into further discussions in UI UX, we are going to go through all of this process one by one, starting from researching, prototyping, wireframing and all. So the tool we'll be using during this course for UI UX design, let me share my screen now so that I'll show us what we'll be using. So can we see my screen? Someone should just please confirm that my screen is visible if I go on. Alright, thank you. So the tool we'll be using throughout this course is, actually there are various tools that can be used for UI UX designs, but the most popular and pretty much easier tool to make use of is Figma. So just have to type, the spelling is figma.com. Figma.com. So please, Dynasty, mute your mic, please. So this is the tool we'll be using throughout our UI UX journey, Figma. And please, this tool actually has its web version and its its desktop version. So you can either make use of it online directly in their website, or you download Figma. So Figma is mostly free, so there are amount of projects or designs you can create free with Figma, but at a point you have to pay. That is if you are building large projects and also, but don't bother, we'll be using the free version of Figma. So if you don't have a Figma account already, just go up to figma.com and create your account. So I'm just going to log in with my own account. Hopefully I should still remember my password. Okay, so let me open up in so 1 minute please. Let me open up Figma and give us a brief walkthrough on what Figma is and how we'll be using Figma. So I'm logged in to Figma already, but you have to create your account and log in. So this is loading up. 1 minute please. So when you log into Figma, this is like the first page you are going to see. So these are my recent projects, or basically all of the projects I've ever done. So I've pretty much designed one or two projects myself. So I'm going to be showing us the project that we'll be building in this course, or the project we'll try to build in this course. So let me find it and open it up. Okay, I think this is it. So I think the only backlog with Figma is that it actually uses a lot of data, because of, it handles so many media, like a large amount of media and all. So yeah, this is what we'll be building. Let me open the edit file. I really apologize for my slow network today. I don't know what is I don't know what is going on. So while it's loading up, aside just jumping in and start making designs, UX has there are some UX laws that we'll have to learn or understand before we start, building user interactions. And also we are going to be learning some of these UX laws later, and I'm also going to be sharing a page. Okay, it has loaded up. So yeah, this is this whole design was built prior to this course, so this is the design we'll be basically trying to replicate or rebuild for us to understand how UI UX design works. So this, basically, just looking at it, is a very simple website design. So the idea behind this website design, or this particular design, is meant to be a property listing app. So when you are designing websites or application, you have to create the design for every single page that the user, or you think the user, will have to see. So starting from the sign up, to the login page, to the home page, to a particular properties page, to a create properties page, then we have an edit properties page. So basically, this is a very simple and straightforward website or website design. Very simple and straightforward website design for a property listing site. So for now, I'm just going to show us one or two basic things here. Most of the work here is not even designing. Most of the work here is knowing what you want to design in your head. So as I said, we will not be going deep into the practicals today, as today is basically going to be just an introductory class. So you just need to know or understand how to make use of all of these components to build what you want to build. So first of all, we have screen sizes here. So if you want to build up a screen, you come here, what do we call it, you click here and you will see all the different screen sizes that we want. So if you open phone, you'll see iPhone 13 Pro Max, iPhone 13, all the iPhones, then the Android phone, small Android phone, then large Android phone. So if you are building design or user interface for an Android phone. There you click, when you click the frame, you will now select the particular phone design that you want. So I've clicked one, and I clicked iPhone 13 or 13 Pro, and this is like the UI or interface for this. So now we have our basic iPhone screen. Then aside the frame, we now have the different shapes here. So yes, this is all of the shapes that we would need, but this is all of the shapes provided, but basically it is everything that we need. So you should just understand how to make use of all of these shapes here to build what you want to build. So you just have to I've clicked square, so you can just come here and put up, draw your square here and all. So we have a simple block here. You can use this is for borders. So if you hold this and move it, you just increase the borders and all. So basically this is just like to make us understand how this application or this tool works. So I would like us to go back, create account with Figma, touch one or two things so that we get familiar with it, so that in our later courses we would it will be easier for us to grab whatever we're doing. Secondly, another website I'll be introducing to us is Behance, which is www.behance.net. So Behance.net is like the equivalent of GitHub, but for UI UX designers. So we know how GitHub is where developers go to host their code and all, but for UI UX designers, they host their own work on Behance. So maybe after creating your account on Figma, you should come over to Behance, which is behance.net, and create an account here, because we'll be uploading the work that you've done here. So aside uploading your work, you can also come here to check out other people's work, get idea of how they go, or how some people do their designs and all their design concepts and all of those things, because you need to continuously follow up the trend, because everything evolves very quickly and fast. So two websites we should create accounts with. One is figma.com, second is behance.net. So hopefully by our next class we would have created these accounts, and everything would move smoothly for us from there. So does anybody have any questions so from all I've said so far, or do you have any question at all you want to ask concerning UI UX, or does anybody want to say anything? So you can speak up now. Any questions, anything you want to say, suggestion? Here we okay, so I guess there are no questions from anybody. So yeah, basically that is all for the introductory class today. From our next class we'll talk about UX laws. Our next class, which is supposed to be on Friday, we'll talk about UX UX laws, and we'll start, go deeper into making use of Figma to build our designs. So as such, we'll try to build up, do a simple case study, and build up, get a case study, do our research, start with wireframing. We'll talk about wireframing before we go into prototyping, then now go into our complete UX, or complete design. So far so good. Is there any questions, or are there any questions? If there are no questions, then we'll close up. We'll end up for today and basically go on into our we'll see next class. Any questions from me? Any confusion? Hello?
So are you the one taking us on the lower year?
Hello?
So are you hearing me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
I'm saying, like, for the rest of our class, are you the one taking us for the rest of throughout the bootcamp? For the lower year?
Not everything. We are supposed to have a UI UX, one other UI UX person, one other UI UX person. So yeah, not just me.
Okay, that means you yourself, you have gone to UI UX.
You see?
Okay, you yourself, like, you have expertise, you're not expertise on the UI UX.
Well, yes, because basically I've had I was into product design initially, so I've had designed multiple applications, so application screens myself before going into web development, specifically like back end. So yes, I have. I don't even answer the question, Sha.
Thank you. I'm okay for today.
Okay. No problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll see in our next class. All right.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Are you also recording this one as well?
Yes, we are recording everything. This one too is also recorded.
Okay.
All right. Any other thing before I just go on? Okay, so in absence of any other question or comments, I'm just going to call it a night, and let us try and register on these two websites that I just introduced to us, Figma, and register on Figma, and also register on Behance. Yeah, so that in our next class would it will be easier for us to understand whatever we'll be doing. So thank you very much for coming. I'll still post the website links in the group or in the channel, so that you just click it directly and go. So thank you all for coming, and see you in the next one. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Limit readme at MD. Is who just joined? Mute yourself. Thank you. Readme.md. So what MD means markdown. Markdown is, I won't get into it too much, but it's just a way of displaying about your GitHub repository in a fancy way. So I won't get into the details, but a hashtag means bold. Basically like HTML, you have H1 tags. In Markdown, hashtag means, let's say H1. It gives a title and makes it large text.